All right, good morning, everybody. I'm out today. I have a doctor's appointment this morning. So I put together this lesson for you guys so that we can go through this together just like I was there. Okay, so our overall learning objective for today is to analyze part 1 of The Alchemist to identify and evaluate the key elements of the quest and the hero's journey, examining their roles in shaping character development and narrative progression. All right, so what I asked you to have out for today includes your planner, your copy of The Alchemist. See, I even have my own here. Your Chromebook, which obviously you have if you're watching this, and your Alchemist handout. All right, so as a quick update about your planner, what I will be checking on Friday for your planner check is that you have all of your February dates filled in, that you have noted that senior picture retakes are on the 27th, that you've added in, that your March at a glance pages are filled out, that you've added in that on the 7th of March you're going to have a vocabulary test. Your late work cutoff date needs to make sure that that is marked down as March 18th, and the end of the quarter will be March 21st. If you're wondering, spring break begins, I believe it is March 31st, and ends that end of the first week of April. So with that in mind, this is probably the first time that you have ever not had spring break to complete work that was for quarter 3. So bear that in mind, that quarter 3 will be done and posted before we go on spring break this year. Okay? Don't be counting on that as a soft landing for you. All right. So what to expect with our lesson today? We are going to briefly review those 12 steps of the hero's journey that we talked about back when we read Beowulf at the beginning of the year. We're going to preview the questions from your handout that you'll be able to answer after today's reading. And then we're going to read pages from The Alchemist, and you're going to be stopping to answer questions in this video that are both comprehension questions as well as the questions that will be on your sheet. I will mark those in the EdPuzzle. So we are picking up on page 11. This is where we left off in class together, and we are going to be reading through page 23-ish is what I said on there. That is because we are going to stop at this break on page 23. It's hard to do with this weird glare that is coming from my window. All right, so this is where we are reading through. All right, so let's take a look at those 12 steps of the hero's journey as a reminder. And I'm actually going to put this so that I can draw on it. Okay, so we, if we wanted to say this is a clock, this is where we usually start at the 12 o'clock rating here. By the end of today, we are going to be over here. So that means we've already learned about the ordinary world for Santiago. He's a shepherd. He hangs out with sheep in a country called Andalusia, which is part of Spain. Pretty much the southern part of Spain. Okay. So we are looking for today his call to the adventure, a refusal of that call, and he's going to be meeting not one, but 2 mentors. Okay, so that is what we are looking at today, is these 3 pieces of that hero's journey. And the reason behind us looking at that is what you're going to need in order to be able to answer question 3 on the back of your handout. How does Santiago's journey in part 1 align with the early stages of the hero's journey? So this is where you're going to be gathering that information and thinking about what is his call to adventure, who are his mentors, and things like that. So you're going to have to outline those things in that question when you answer it. All right, so let's take a look at what you're going to be able to fill out on the rest of your Alchemist Part 1.1 handout today. So we already answered question number 1 and filled out the first part of the 5 parts of a quest. Today, you should be able to answer the multiple choice questions 2, 3, and 4. Question 2 being, what is Santiago's father's dream for him? Question 3, what does the old woman say about dreams? And question 4, what does the old man Melchizedek, ask for an exchange from Santiago for his help. All right. So that also tells you that we are going to start getting into that part where he's got a place to go for his quest and a stated reason for that. So you're going to need to be paying attention for his place to go, as well as his stated reason for going there. People from all over the world have passed through this village, son, said his father. They came in search of new things, but when they leave, they are basically the same people they were when they arrived. They climb the mountain to see the castle, and they wind up thinking that the past was better than what they have now. They have blonde hair or dark skin, but basically they're the same as the people who live right here. But I'd like to see the castles and the towns where they live, the boy explained. Those people, when they see our land, say they would like to live here forever, his father continued. Well, I'd like to see their land and see how they live, said his son. The people who come here have a lot of money to spend, so they can afford to travel, his father said. Amongst us, the only ones who travel are the shepherds. Well, then I'll be a shepherd. His father said no more. The next day he gave his son a pouch that held 3 ancient Spanish gold coins. I found these one day in the fields. I wanted them to be a part of your inheritance, but use them to buy your flock. Take to the fields, and someday you'll learn that our countryside is the best, and our women are the most beautiful. And he gave the boy his blessing. The boy could see in his father's gaze a desire to be able himself to travel the world. A desire that was still alive despite his father's having had to bury it over dozens of years under the burden of struggling for water to drink, food to eat, and the same place to sleep every night for his life. The horizon was tinged with red, and suddenly the sun appeared. The boy thought back to that conversation with his father and felt happy. He had already seen many castles and met many women, but none the equal of the one who awaited him several days hence. He owned a jacket, a book that he could trade for another, and a flock of sheep. But most important, he was able every day to live out his dream. If he were to tire of the Andalusian fields, he could sell his sheep and go to sea. By the time he had enough of the sea, he would already have known other cities, other women, and other chances to be happy. I couldn't have found God in the seminary, he thought, as he looked at the sunrise. Whenever he could, he sought out a new road to travel. He had never been to that ruined church before, in spite of having traveled through those parts many times. The world was huge and inexhaustible. He had only to allow his sheep to set the route for a while, and he discovered other interesting things. The problem is, they don't even realize that they're walking a new road every day. They don't see the fields are new and the seasons change. All they think about is food and water. Maybe we're all that way, the boy mused. Even me. I haven't thought of other women since I met the merchant's daughter. Looking at the sun, he calculated that he would reach Tarifa before midday. There, he could exchange his book for a thicker one, fill his wine bottle, shave, and have a haircut. He had to prepare himself for his meeting with the girl, and he didn't want to think about the possibility that some other shepherd, with a larger flock of sheep, had arrived there before him and asked for her hand. It's the possibility of having a dream come true that makes life interesting, he thought, as he looked again at the position of the sun and hurried his pace. He suddenly remembered that in Tarifa there was an old woman who had interpreted dreams. The old woman led the boy to the back of her house. It was separated from her living room by a curtain of colored beads. The room's furnishings consisted of a table, an image of the Sacred Heart of Jesus, and 2 chairs. The woman sat down and told him to be seated as well. Then she took both of his hands in hers and began quietly to pray. It sounded like a gypsy prayer. The boy had already had experience on the road with gypsies. They also traveled, but they had no flocks of sheep. People said that gypsies spent their lives tricking others. It was also said that they had a pact with the devil, and that they kidnapped children, and taking them away to their mysterious camps made them their slaves. As a child, the boy had always been frightened to death that he would be captured by gypsies, and this childhood fear would return when the old woman took his hands in hers. But she has the sacred heart of Jesus there, he thought, trying to reassure himself. He didn't want his hands to begin trembling, showing the old woman that he was fearful. He recited an Our Father silently. Very interesting, said the woman, not taking her eyes from the boy's hands, and then she fell silent. The boy was becoming nervous. His hands began to tremble, and the woman sensed it. He quickly pulled his hands away. I didn't come here to have you read my palm, he said, already regretting having come. He thought for a moment that it would be better to pay her fee and leave without learning a thing that he was going to giving too much importance to his recurrent dream. You come so that you could learn about your dreams, said the old woman. And dreams are the language of God. When he speaks in our language, I can interpret what he has said. But if he speaks in the language of the soul, it is only you who can understand. But whichever it is, I'm going to charge you for the consultation. Another trick, the boy thought. But he decided to take a chance. A shepherd always takes his chances with wolves and with drought. And that's what makes a shepherd's life interesting and exciting. I have had the same dream twice, he said. I dreamed that I was in a field with my sheep when a child appeared and began to play with the animals. I don't like people to do that because the sheep are afraid of strangers. But children always seem to be able to play with them without frightening them. I don't know why. I don't know how animals know the age of human beings. Tell me more about your dream, said the woman. I have to get back to my cooking, and since you don't have much money, I can't give you a lot of time. The child went on playing with my sheep for quite a while, continued the boy, a bit upset, and suddenly the child took me by the hands and transported me to Egypt, to the Egyptian pyramids. He paused for a moment to see if the woman knew what the Egyptian pyramids were, but she said nothing. Then, at the Egyptian pyramids, he said the last three words slowly, so that the woman would understand. The child said to me, if you come here, you will find a hidden treasure. And just as she was about to show me the exact location, I woke up, both times. The woman was silent for some time. Then she again looked at his hands and studied them carefully. I'm not going to charge you anything now, she said. But I want 1/10 of the treasure if you find it. The boy laughed out of happiness. He was going to be able to save the little money that he had because of a dream about a hidden treasure. Well, interpret the dream, he said. First, swear to me. Swear that you will give me 1/10 of your treasure in exchange for what I'm going to tell you. The shepherd swore that he would, and the old woman asked him to swear again while looking at the image of the Sacred Heart of Jesus. It's a dream in the language of the world, she said. I can interpret it, but the interpretation is very difficult. That's why I feel that I deserve a part of what you find. And this is my interpretation. You must go to the pyramids in Egypt. I've never heard of them. But if it was a child who showed them to you, they exist. There you will find a treasure that will make you a rich man. The boy was surprised and then irritated. He didn't need to seek out the old woman for this. But then he remembered that he wasn't going to have to pay anything. I didn't need to waste my time just for this, he said. I told you that your dream was a difficult one. It's the simple things in life that are the most extraordinary. Only wise men are able to understand them. And since I am not a wise man, had I have had to learn other arts, such as reading of palms. Well, how am I going to get to Egypt? I only interpret dreams. I don't know how to turn them into reality. That's why I have to live off what my daughters provide me with. And what if I never get to Egypt? Then I don't get paid. It wouldn't be the first time. And the woman told the boy to leave, saying she had already wasted too much time with him. So the boy was disappointed. He decided that he would never again believe in dreams. He remembered that he had a number of things he had to take care of. He went to the market for something to eat. He traded his book for one that was thicker, and he found a bench in the plaza where he could sample the new wine he had bought. The day was hot and the wine was refreshing. The sheep were at the gates of the city in a stable that belonged to a friend the boy knew. The boy knew a lot of people in the city. That was what made traveling appeal to him. He always made new friends, and he didn't need to spend all of his time with them. When someone sees the same people every day, as had happened with him in the seminary, they wind up becoming a part of that person's life, and then they want the person to change. If someone isn't what others want them to be, the others become angry. Everyone seems to have a clear idea of how other people should lead their lives, but none about his or her own. He decided to wait until the sun had sunk a bit lower in the sky before following his flock back through the fields. 3 days from now, he would be with the merchant's daughter. He started to read the book he had bought. On the very first page, it described a burial ceremony, and the names of the people involved were very difficult to pronounce. If he ever wrote a book, he thought, he would present one person at a time, so that the reader wouldn't have to worry about memorizing a lot of names. When he was finally able to concentrate on what he was reading, he liked the book better. The burial was on a snowy day, and he welcomed the feeling of being cold. As he read on, an old man sat down at his side and tried to strike up a conversation. "What are they doing?" the old man asked, pointing to the people in the plaza. "Working," the boy answered dryly, making it look as if he wanted to concentrate on his reading. Actually, he was thinking about shearing his sheep in front of the merchant's daughter, so that she could see that he was someone who was capable of doing difficult things. He had already imagined the scene many times. Every time, the girl became fascinated when he explained that the sheep had to be sheared from back to front. He also tried to remember some good stories to relate as he sheared the sheep. Most of them he had read in books, but he would tell them as if they were from his personal experience. She was never going to know the difference because she didn't know how to read. Meanwhile, the old man persisted in his attempt to strike up a conversation. He said that he was tired and thirsty, and asked if he might have a sip of the boy's wine. The boy offered the bottle, hoping that the old man would leave him alone. But the old man wanted to talk, and asked the boy what book he was reading. The boy was tempted to be rude and moved to another bench, but his father taught him to be respectful of the elderly. So he held out the book to the man for 2 reasons. First, that he himself wasn't sure how to pronounce the title. And second, that if the old man didn't know how to read, he would probably feel ashamed and decide of his own accord to change benches. Said the old man, looking at all sides of the book as if it were some strange object. "This is an important book, but it's really irritating." The boy was shocked. The old man knew how to read and had already read the book. And if the book was irritating, then, as the old man had said, the boy still had time to change it for another. It's a book that says the same thing almost all other books in the world say, continued the old man. It describes people's inability to choose their own personal legends, and it ends up saying that everyone believes the world's greatest lie. What's the world's greatest lie? The boy asked, completely surprised. It's that it's this that at a certain point in our lives, we lose control of what's actually happening to us, and our lives become controlled by fate. That's the world's greatest lie. That's never happened to me, the boy said. They wanted me to be a priest, but I decided to become a shepherd. Much better, said the old man, because you really do like to travel. He knew what I was thinking, the boy said to himself. The old man, meanwhile, was leafing through the book without seeming to want to return to it at all. The boy noticed that the man's clothing was strange. It looked like an Arab, which was not unusual in those parts. Africa was only a few hours from Tarifa. One only had to cross the narrow straits by boat. Arabs often appeared in the city, shopping and chanting their strange prayers several times a day. Where are you from? The boy asked. From many places. No one can be from many places, the boy said. I'm a shepherd, and I have been to many places, but I come from only one place, from a city near the ancient castle. That's where I was born. Well, then, we could say that I was born in Salem. The boy didn't know where Salem was. He didn't want to ask, fearing that he would appear ignorant. He looked at the people in the plaza for a while. They were coming and going, and all of them seemed to be very busy. So what is Salem like? He asked, trying to get some sort of clue. It's like it always has been. No clue yet, but he knew that Salem wasn't in Andalusia. If it were, he would already have heard of it. And what do you do in Salem? He insisted. What do I do in Salem? The old man laughed. Well, I'm the king of Salem. People say strange things, the boy thought. Sometimes it's better to be with the sheep, who don't say anything, and better still to be alone with one's books. They tell their incredible stories at the time when you want to hear them, but when you're talking to people, they say some strange things that are so strange you don't even know how to continue the conversation. My name is Melchizedek, said the old man. How many sheep do you have? Enough, said the boy. He could see the old man wanted to know more about his life. Well, then we've got a problem. I can't help you if you've got enough sheep. The boy was getting irritated. He wasn't asking for help. It was the old man who had asked for a drink of his wine and started the conversation. Give me my book back, the boy said. I have to go gather my sheep and get going. Give me 1/10 of your sheep, said the old man, and I'll tell you how to find the hidden treasure. The boy remembered his dream, and suddenly everything was clear to him. The old woman hadn't charged him anything, but the old man, maybe he was her husband, was going to find a way to get much more money in exchange for information about something that didn't even exist. The old man was probably a gypsy too. Before the boy could say anything, the old man leaned over, picked up a stick, and began to write in the sand of the plaza. Something bright reflected from his chest with such intensity the boy was momentarily blinded. With a movement that was too quick for someone his age, the man covered whatever it was with his cape. When his vision returned to normal, the boy was able to read what the old man had written in the sand. There in the sand of the plaza of the small city, the boy read the names of his father and his mother and the name of the seminary he had attended. He read the name of the merchant's daughter, which he hadn't even known. And he read things he had never told anyone. I am the king of Salem, the old man said. Why would you be talking with a shepherd? The boy asked, awed and embarrassed. For several reasons. But let's say that the most important is that you have succeeded in discovering your personal legend.